Now, the way the Roth works is it's going to be a Roth 401k, a Roth TSP, like an eligible employer plan. It is not going to be a Roth IRA. We get that question all the time. I'm not eligible because of my income and so forth. Well, we don't. The Roth 401k feature does not have income limits. There are no income limits. And we do not go by the IRA limits of the $5,000 or $6,000 limit. You are going by those elective deferral limits or the catch-up limit. Those are the amounts that you can put in, up to that $17,000 this year and up to the $5,500 catch-up in total. So you could do a little bit as traditional contributions, like you're doing now, the tax deferred, or you can contribute as a Roth contribution, or any combination of the two. So you can do all on one side or the other, or a combination. You just have to stay under those limits of $17,500 to $5,500, and then for uniform services, that annual additions limit. But you could do it as Roth. And the way that works, obviously, is you're paying the taxes up front. So that contribution goes in, you pay the taxes up front. It does not lower your adjusted gross income like you have now. So you're not getting a tax break. You're giving up that tax break. And what you're really shooting for is to make the earnings on that Roth money qualified or tax-free. That's the long-term goal behind a Roth concept. You want to make all those compounded earnings in this plan under the Roth side of the fence tax-free, or what they call qualified earnings. Now, there are two things that have to occur to make that a qualified earnings. First one is an age requirement. You cannot distribute the money until you're 59 and a half. The second one is what's called a 5-year rule, meaning the first contribution that you put in as a Roth contribution has to occur 5 years prior to you distributing this money to yourself. And that's a little bit kind of quirky how that works. If you make a Roth contribution in any year, your Roth contribution initiation date starts on January 1st of that year. So if you put that contribution in as a Roth in December of this year, your initiation date is actually January 1st of this year. So on January 1st of 2017, you will have met that 5-year rule. So you'll have that covered. And then all you have to do is have the age requirement covered of 59 and a half. And then when you get distributions from the Roth, then that money would be qualified earnings or tax-free earnings. And you won't owe taxes on that money. Now, a lot of the questions we get about the whole Roth feature are, when is it going to be implemented? I just told you that. Can I move my existing funds in my TSP account from the traditional side of the fence to the Roth side once this is implemented? The answer to that is simply no. The way the laws stand right now as we speak today, the laws do not allow you to move that existing money over to the Roth side of the fence. Only future contributions as this is implemented will you be able to start to designate those as Roth contributions. I often get, well, can I move my Roth IRA outside of TSP into TSP? Well, what part of that sentence didn't sound right? Can I move my Roth IRA? This is not going to be a Roth IRA. It's going to be a Roth 401k feature or eligible employer plan feature. So the answer to that one is simply no also. The laws don't allow that either. Now you can, some of you may be aware of, you can transfer money out of TSP right now to a Roth IRA. That is possible. But you can't do the reverse. And I get a lot of faces on that, and those are IRS rules, and I don't want to really go along the line of discussing that. That's just the way the laws exist right now. It allows you to transfer the money out to a Roth IRA, but not in from a Roth IRA. Even when Roth is implemented with us, you won't be able to move that money from the Roth IRA in. Just trying to think of other questions that most folks ask at this point about the Roth feature. They usually get those confused. They get the limits confused. The real thing that you're looking for right now is to ask yourself these types of questions right here. Do you need the benefit of what you're getting right now? In other words, you're deferring part of your basic pay. IRS allows you to do that under the 401k rules. and you're paying less taxes. That's the benefit you're getting right now. You're actually putting more money in your pocket now, spendable income. And that's what this example shows. A $2,000 contribution means you pay taxes on $38,000 as opposed to $40,000. Means you put more spendable money in your pocket. This would be what you would be doing if you did a Roth in that case. You'd be paying taxes on the full $40,000 because that $2,000 contribution, if it's all Roth, is now taxed up front. Therefore, your adjusted gross income stays at $40,000 and you pay taxes on a higher amount and you have less money in your pocket, spendable money. Now, this $2,000 contribution will always be tax-free at that point, from that point forward, if it's all Roth. And then you'll be shooting for their earnings in the future to be also tax-free. That's the other question you have to ask yourself. Okay, I'm now willing to accept the tax hit up front on that $2,000. I'll go ahead and take that tax hit. Well, as you have it right now, you're deferring that, so you never paid taxes on that $2,000. So say, and this is just a general parameters of 20 years compounded growth at 7%, say that grows to be about $8,077. Well, when you take that money out in the future, that's actually only about $6,800 and change that you're going to actually have in hand spendable income at that point. If you contribute that $2,000 as Roth and it grows to be $8,077 in the future, and it's qualified earnings, meaning the age requirement and that 5-year rule has been met by you, then that $8,077 is $8,077. You owe no money on that earnings on that account, on those earnings, and all those compounded earnings will be tax-free. Okay, so that's really the big difference I think folks are going to have to ask themselves. And luckily, the system we have in place now, it's much more flexible. It's a lot easier to get in and out of what your contributions are and so forth. So if somebody starts this and they get their first paycheck and they realize it, that's a little bit too much Roth for me maybe. You can easily adjust it for next pay period. It's not that hard. It's not very difficult anymore. And I think that's what most folks are going to have to ask themselves is, you know, how does this fit my overall portfolio of investing and my tax information? It's really a tax question that you're asking yourself individually. Can I take the tax hit up front on this Roth money? You know, maybe it doesn't work for you this year. 2 years from now, it might work for you. What I do encourage folks to do is, if you do nothing at all this year with Roth, put in one little small portion of a contribution as Roth this year. What does that automatically do? At the very least, it kicks in that 5-year rule for you. And then, bam, 2017, you will have met that rule. Because you could start Roth for one pay period, stop, and you don't have to start it again for a couple of years. Your 5-year rule will still be met in 2017. It doesn't stop and restart or anything like that. So if you do nothing at all, I'm encouraging folks to do Roth as much as you can. But if you do nothing at all, at least get a contribution in there to kick in your 5-year rule. Now, one other thing is, if you happen to have a Roth 401k feature in a private sector company plan, maybe you worked for the private sector and the public sector, and then came into civilian work or something, and they offered one out there in the private sector, and you put money in their 401k Roth feature, that's transferable in to your TSP account. And in that case, we will actually grab your Roth initiation date from that plan outside and add it to your plan here. So if you started one of those potentially, and I've come across folks who have these already, if you started this 2 years ago in a private plan for your private sector employer, and your initiation date is 2009, January 1, we'll grab that, and that'll now become your initiation date here.